Yeah. Okay. Before doing, I will start with from last session itself. Actually, okay. You remember in the last session we were trying to do one program called Count Words. Okay. I did look into the how they have done it actually. Okay. Let me open the. And I also thought of a different way of doing it. I will discuss both the ways here. Actually, both the logics now. Okay. Now, where is that? It was in, I think, methods. Count words. Yeah, this is it. Okay. So they have done so okay. This is the input. If you give this input, they were expecting an answer of 9. The reason is they just want to count how many words are there in the sentence. Okay. How they have done it is. Where is the answer? They have counted the space actually. Yeah. Okay. So what they have done is like now they have counted how many spaces are there. So okay. So what they are doing is like now they are splitting that into a character. They are taking the string, and then they are they're going one by one of each characters, and then they're looking for a space. If they find a space, means like they are incrementing the count, and in the end, that's it. That will give you the how many words are there in that one. Okay. If you have a free time, like now, just analyze this one. But I'm going to show you a very simple way of doing it actually. Okay. Okay. So this is one way we solved, but we till we see arrays, right? You won't understand what has happened here actually. Okay. Next session we are going to see what is arrays and how we can use it actually, because I've used arrays to do this counting the words. Okay. Now I'm going to do a different way of doing it. Okay. Let me create. I don't want to disturb this, so let me go and create a new program. Session8. That shouldn't be. Okay. Count words updated. Okay. User. I'm just going to have one method in this one, which will return how many words are there in the string. Okay. So the return type is going to be int, and then it will be public int. Okay. And then count words will be the method name. And then that will take a string parameter. String. I'll just name it as str. Okay. Now, let's see. I will explain the logic to you guys. Okay. So how it is right now? I'll just use the same. Okay. So if this is the input of the string, right? Okay. Say for example, I'll just take one more thing. So if this is a string, what the user has entered means like now how many characters are there in this one? Just let's simply count it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, there are 12 characters are there. Okay, how many spaces are there? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is like no, I'm going to remove the spaces. Okay. In my logic, right, if the user has entered this string means like now I'm just going to remove the spaces in the string and then count the number of characters again. Okay, so if I remove the spaces, right, what will be the it will be like this, right? Okay, now how many characters are there? It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so previously what was the length? How many characters were? 12. Okay, now how many characters? Sorry, not 12 actually. 1, 2. There are 2 spaces here. 1, yeah, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, 12 characters and then 9 characters over there. Okay, so 12 minus 9 is how much? you get 3. Okay, so 3 plus 1 you get 4. Okay, so there are 4 number of spaces were there. Sorry, 3 number of spaces. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 number of spaces and 4 words were there. Okay, that is the logic. It's simple as that. Okay, so what is the logic here is like now. So whatever the user has entered the string, right? I'm just going to count how many characters are there in that one and remove the spaces and then count the characters again, and the difference gives you the number of spaces. Did you guys understood the logic? I will execute it and then show to you how it really works. This is the simplest logic, okay? Because if you see this one, right, they have done it in a complicated way. Okay, you see the number of lines of code here and then number of if statements, and then they've got a for loop, right? We don't need any for loop or anything like that. Just 3 statements will do serve the purpose for you. Okay, now first I just need to get the count of it. Okay, so I think there is something called as length. Yeah, okay, I'll just store it in a string length. Simply I'll name a variable called as length itself. Okay, so I'll just put it as initial length. Okay, now what I'm going to do in the next step is I'm going to replace the spaces in the string. Okay, so str is equal to str dot replace space with, so you see this one, right? So I just gave double quotes, in between it is empty. It means that like now it's called empty they call this as an empty string because there is no string inside it. Okay, so empty string means just replace the space with a null string. Okay, that's no string. That's why, so if you do a replacement here, if you do the replacement of this string with the nulls, with the empty string for the spaces, right, it will become like this. Okay, just remember this. Okay, this is called, they call it as usually empty string. Okay, so say for example if you want to do assign a string means like now this is a string. Okay, and then anything, I mean this is also a string. Okay, if you do this, right, they call this as an empty string. Okay, just remember that in mind. Okay, because it will be useful in the later stages when you're doing automation. Okay, now
sorry Bala, so replace and so replace is the function in string class?
Yes, it is in the string class, exactly.
Alright, thank you.
Now, okay, so what I've done is I've done this step. Okay, first I have counted how many characters are there in the string. Now the next step what I've done is I've replaced all the spaces in the string, so the string has become like this. Now all I need to do is like now count this again and then reduce it. Okay, now let's count it again. Okay, int, I'll just count after length. Okay, length is equal to str dot length again, same thing. Okay, now we got so now what we have to do is like now we have to find the difference between the initial length and then the initial length and the after length. Now you will get the how many spaces were there. Okay, so let's open brace, initial length plus minus after length plus 1, because we know that if there are 3 spaces means there are 4 words are there. Okay, plus 1, that's it. You just need to return this one. Okay, that's the logic. It's as simple as this. Okay, so basically what we can learn from this one, right? See, anything can be achieved by like any complicated way, because like there is like you can write it in like a 15 length program. If you sit and really think, means like you can write it in, reduce it to 6. I'm going to after executing this one, I'm just going to change this into a single line function. Okay, see how many lines they have done. I'm just going to, after executing this, I will show you how we can change this into a single line. Okay, all these things can be done in a single line itself. Okay, so it all depends on like once you get the experience, right, you just need to think of a better way of doing it. Everywhere there is a solution available. On the day the solution what I tried to do was like that is also doable. Okay, but the thing was like it was a bit complicated. Then afterwards like I did it with array, right? That is also a simpler way of doing it actually, because how many that also had only 3. But the problem there is like you don't see it as expensive. Whenever array comes into a picture, right, it is an expensive, they call it as expensive coding. The reason it's expensive coding is like because okay, I will explain to you the expensive coding when we see about the arrays in the next session. We don't want to go in deep. Okay. So they called it as a expensive coding, but you can, when it comes down the line, right, you have to think all the things into perspective, whether it is expensive, and then how much time it is going to take, because in our automation at the moment, in my current job, right, what I'm working on is like, there was 3 years of automation code was done, and then past 1 month, what we were working in our team, what we were trying to work is like, because the whole automation pack takes about like 6 hours to run, and then we are trying to reduce it to 2 hours. The reason is like, when they did the initial programming, right, they didn't think about any, they didn't, because all their goal was like, to achieve the goal, actually achieve the objective. They didn't think about the coding standards, what is a better way of programming. So it's fine actually, because the reason they or at that time, like, they might be in a crunch state, they might their higher managers might be pushing them to achieve, do it quickly. So that's why they might have done it like that. But it is always better to, like, keep that in the corner of your mind, like, okay, what is a better way of doing it? If there is a better way of doing it, like, go for it. Okay, if it takes time also, because it will save a lot of money for in the future. Okay, that is just advice for you guys in the programming side. Okay, now, okay, I'm just going to execute this one and show it to you guys. Okay, session 8. Okay, I'm just going to create a class for that. Count words updated. Yes. I'm just going to CWU. Okay, and I'm going to do the scanner now. Yeah, IntelliJ, there is one shortcut. Okay, whenever you want to type system.out.println, right, there is one the shortcut. It will be useful, guys. If you type s out, right, it will see this one, right. If I type s out, and then if it will give an option to you the next time, just press enter, you'll get that system.out.println. Okay, just remember that mind. It will be useful for you guys for the quick programming. Okay. I'm purposefully doing it a bit complicated, because so that you guys can understand. I'm calling function inside a function inside a function. Okay. No. Okay. I'm just going to execute this one. What is it string down? See this one? We got 9 as answer. Okay, that's what we were expecting. If I run this one again, paste. Oh, paste it. Get it. Okay, it's as simple as this one. Okay, I'm just going to quickly. I assume everyone understands what has happened here. Okay, it's a simple thing. Okay, so what we usually do was like, we usually. I'm just going to comment out this one and spread it out so that you guys will understand. So what we usually do is we first get the string, we call it as value equal to. Okay, first we will get the string, then call the function. Okay, int word count equal to CW. And we will pass the value whatever user has entered, and then we will print out the words. Okay, so all these 3 lines, right, has been clubbed together as a single line here. That's what has happened. Okay, so first we are getting this. first we are getting a value from the user from the command line, okay, and then we are passing that value to the count verse, and then whatever value we are getting, we are giving it to printer, okay. So all I've done is like just copy and pasted that one here directly, and then the copy this one and then paste it here, okay. So that's what has happened here, okay, as simple as this one, okay. Now, okay, I'm going to leave this program as it is. Don't worry, I will upload all these programs, okay. Now,
Bala,
yeah,
in the count words, you are calling string length. Is it predefined Java method?
yes, absolutely. This length, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It belongs to the string class.
So every time you use method or anything, you have to create an object for that?
Yes. When you want to access anything inside the class, Rajni, you need to create an object for it, because class is just an abstract thing. It doesn't exist, okay. It just think like this. It just exists in the paper. It doesn't exist in the real world yet, actually. So if you want to make that class to exist in the real world, right, you have to create an object for it. It is just class is nothing but it's just an idea, okay. Idea doesn't have any value, okay. Idea will get only value when it is implemented. It's okay. That is why they give this blueprint example, actually, okay. If you want to build a house, what you will do is like you will first do a blueprint, right, with a detailed blueprint of what is going to be the length, where is the wall is going to be, what is going to be the color, everything will be there in the blueprint. But the blueprint won't have any value because you can't live in the blueprint. Blueprint is just a written in paper. When the blueprint will come into the picture, when you can really use a blueprint is after you implement it. You build a house based on the blueprint. That's what creating an object, okay. It's as simple as this one. Okay. Now, there is a loophole there, actually. You can create some methods without creating an object, but don't confuse it. We will see about that one in the later sessions, okay. But those are really exceptions, okay. But there is a one way of doing it, actually. There is a requirement also to do it, and we will see why we need to do it, okay. But as of now, think like this. If you want to actually use anything inside the class, right, you have to create an object for it, okay.
Okay.
As simple as that.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss something about the string object. There is something special about the string object, okay. I was discussing with a couple of people today, okay. I just want to tell that to the class as well, okay. I'll show you guys. How do I don't want to disturb this one. How can I do? Okay, so I'll just create another thing called a string itself. String demo, okay. Now I'll just do something called this okay. Now, as I told you guys, right, string is alone a special class, special object in the Java, okay. Now, the statement what I'm going to say next is you can by heart it, actually, okay. So whenever you do double quotes, right, in the Java program, right, whenever you use double quotes, right, Java will know that you are using a string object. You don't need to explicitly define a string object, okay. If you use double quotes, right, Java will automatically interrupt that as a string object, okay. Let's see how it is being done, okay. Usually when you want to create a string, right, till now what we saw is so when you want to access anything inside the class, we need to create an object, right. So let's do it that way itself, okay. For string, we are going to create a simple string, okay, by the normal way what we have discussed, okay. So str equal to meaning of string. This is one way of creating an object, okay. Now I'm going to initialize the string, okay, using the constructor, okay. So I'm just going to do hello world. Now what I've done is so I've created a string object with hello world as initialized one, okay. If I do this out, right, yeah, the problem is I can't run this one, actually. Okay, I'll do this as a main itself, actually. don't you worry guys, everything is coming, okay? I will tell you why you need a why you need to do everything as a main. The reason why I haven't told you guys anything like now, because we haven't seen what is public, what is static means actually. Before that, if I try to explain the main method, right, you guys will get confused, okay? So that's why I haven't explained these bits yet, okay? We have just seen what is void means. We have just only seen this half, okay? This is a main is again a method, this is a return type, and this is the input argument, okay? Now we haven't seen these two, okay? Once we see these two, right, I will explain to you clearly what is main and why it is so important, okay? Now, if I run this one, right, I'm going to get simply as hello world, okay? Because I've created a string object and then I printed it, okay? Now, and then I'm just going to recap the small thing what we discussed last week, okay, in the class sessions, okay? So what is this first half is, this first half I'm just creating a reference, okay? In the next half only I'm actually creating an object, okay? It may look like a single line, okay? In this line, if you can't say this whole line creates an object, okay? This is the portion where it creates an object, okay? And then the created object has been assigned to this reference. That's all it has been done here, okay? So if I do this, right, let me do it in two different steps, okay? If you do this, right, in the first step, here in the first step, right, no object has been created yet actually. So you can't just, so once you can't this reference, right, you can't do this one, okay? Because it will throw an error. See this one, right? It's complaining. How do we get rid of this one? See, variable string is never assigned, okay? So in the same way, so counts was updated is there, right? If I, let's updated cw dot do this. See the right? CW is not initialized. It might not be initialized. It's not initialized. So you can't use the CW yet actually, because you can't call the methods there. What you have done here is like, no, you have just created a reference for the class. So when I say reference for the class means like, no, what I mean by that is, in a pre-step of creating an object, right, what you need to do is like, no, it's like, say, think like this, okay? Okay, you are buying a dog, okay? So when you buy a dog, right, so you are planning to buy a dog. Think like this. You are planning to buy a dog. Okay. Now what you're going to do is like, no, before the plan, right? You need something to call the dog. To call the dog, you need something to refer the dog. Okay. You can't call simply dog every time. Okay. Think like this. Okay. So you haven't bought the dog yet, but you have decided the name. What's the name of the dog is going to be? Think that the name is going to be Tommy. Okay. Can you feed? So you haven't bought the dog yet, you just named the dog alone, okay? That's not a bad thing. So you have done it and that's fine, absolutely fine, okay? But you can't actually take Tommy to walking, okay? Because you haven't bought the dog yet. It doesn't mean that once you decide the name, right, it doesn't mean that the dog comes into existence. So when the dog comes into existence, right, when you actually buy the dog from the seller, okay? And then assign the dog's name as Tommy, okay? When you do these two things, right, after that only the dog will respond to you with the name what you are calling, okay? Once you assign the name to the real dog, right, then only you can use the word Tommy, okay? Till that time, right, Tommy has got the Tommy word, right? It doesn't have Tommy name, right? It doesn't have any value at all. It is just a name, okay? It doesn't have anything to refer to, okay? You can't call anything Tommy, okay? So that's what exactly happened here, okay? So what you have done is like, no, so you are saying that, okay, I'm going to create an object in the near future, and the name of the object is I'm going to refer that object by as CW, okay? That's all you have done, okay? But you haven't created the object yet, so you can't still use the CW. When you can really use that reference is after you create an object and then assign that object to that reference. How you will do it? You will do CW equal to, then now create an object, okay? Once was updated, okay? This is the step where, so when someone in this line, right, in this piece of code, right, if someone asks you, okay, tell me, just copy the line, copy the piece of code which exactly creates an object, right? What you have to select is like, no, this only bit, okay? This is the only bit, okay? This is a step which creates an object for you, okay? Now what you have done here is this bit, You have created a reference, you have created an object in this piece of code, and in this piece of code you have assigned that created object to this reference. Okay, so three things are happening when you do it like this in a single step. Okay, first the reference is getting created, then an object is getting created, then created object is assigned to that reference. Okay, clearly, as clear as this. Okay, now let's build on that one. Okay, now just remove these two. So from this one, what we are clear is with the just the reference alone, right? Reference for the class alone, you can't use that one. Okay, you can't call any methods whatever defined in the class. So when you want to call any methods or access any member of the class, right, you need to create an object for it. Okay, as simple as that. Now okay, now we have done this one, right? I'll tell you why that is special. Okay, the string is special. Now whenever, this is one way of doing it. The another way of exactly doing it is, right, hello. Okay, you see this one, right? These both will yield the exact same results for you guys. See this one, right? So how you can ask, okay, you just created the reference, right? You haven't created the object itself. How come you are able to assign values to it? You can ask that question. The reason is like, no, that is why the string class are alone is special class. So whenever Java sees this one, right, you see it as double quotes. Okay, Java will interrupt this, like, you see this is the, sorry, this is the piece of code you are seeing it. Okay, how Java will see this one, right? Java will see it like this. Java will see it like this. This line of code, right? It will look like this. This is how Java will look at the code. Okay. The reason why it is looking at the code like this, right? How it knows it is a string, right? Double quotes. Double quotes has got that power actually. Okay. So whenever it sees a double quotes, right, it will see that as a string object. Okay. It will immediately in the background, right? It will create a string object and then assign that string to it, and then assign that created an object, and assign that string to it, and assign that object to this reference, str2 reference. Okay, so what it has done is it has created a string with initializer as hello world, and then assign that object whatever it just created here, and it will assign that object to this one. Okay, that is how Java sees the string. Okay, so why it is so special is, right, okay,
sorry, Bala. So as far as I understood, we could use a string class as a variable, and we don't need to call an object for that.
Yes, you don't need to create an object for it, but Java itself will create it for you. You don't need to create explicitly.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, it's just making in the background. It's just doing this in the background.
Exactly. Because the golden rule of the class is what we saw. That is the rule 101. Okay, that can never be broken. You can't access the methods, or else you can't assign a value to a class. Okay, the only way you can assign a value or else access a method is after creating an object. Okay, but here alone it looks like we are directly assigning to a class, but not that is not the case actually. Okay, so it will in the background it will create an object and then assign it to the str2. Okay, so that golden rule can't be broken. Okay, when you want to use something in the class, right, you need to create an object for it. Okay, that's a golden rule. As I said, like, no, there is an exception. That is where the static words comes into the picture. I will explain to you in deep, because there's one single session, whole session is allocated to that, because it's a deep concept you guys need to understand. Okay, and there is a purpose for it actually, to break that golden rule, and there is a special circumstance as well, because again that is also a costly programming. You can't just use that one everywhere, wherever you want. Okay, we will see those things in the later sessions. Okay, now I'm just going to build on this one. Okay, what are the other features of the string? Okay, now, so say for example, if I type str2, right, you get lot of the string operations what we do. Okay, so say for example we do this. Okay, so we have created two string variables. Okay, str and str2. Okay, and both contains hello world. Okay, let's do a simple comparison. Okay, if str dot equals str2 strings are equal. Okay, I'll just remove this one. Okay, let's run this one. One second. Hello world today. Is there anything difference between these two? Oh yeah, there is a W here. Why the hell is there a W here? So shocked why it didn't. Okay, the strings are equal. It's understandable. Okay, now see what you have done is like now you have. So what I said was like now, whenever Java sees this double quotes, right, it will create an object and assign this reference to you. Okay. Now what we can do is like now we can get rid of this str completely. Okay, I'll put this str here for a minute and then show you guys why we can get rid of it. Okay. So if you type just this one, right, any string, okay, say for example, okay, now if you press dot, right, you see that, right, all the things that are available for the string object, right, it is listing here. How it is right now, see, that is the reason actually, okay, because all you see is double quotes here, but all Java sees here is like, no, it's this one. Okay, I'll just read this. What? Oh, sorry, one second. I just need to count. Okay. So when you are seeing this, right, and then if you type, sorry, where is it? If you remove this dot, as I told you earlier, right, this and this are equivalent things. So all you need to do is this one. Okay, Java will immediately interrupt as this one. So what will happen is like now you have created an object here. What has happened in this step is it's clear that an object has been created in this step. Okay, so we haven't assigned to any reference, we just created an object. I'll just comment on this one. Okay, we have just created an object. Okay, now I'm going to use that object. Why am I having another 1 second? Okay, if I press dot, right, I get lot of options in here, right. The reason why I'm getting is I've created an object. I haven't assigned any reference to it. Okay, so I can use the reason. The problem here, what will happen is like, no, you have created an object, but you haven't assigned that object to anything. Okay, so what will happen is like, no, only in this line I can use this one. Say for example, I can just length. Okay. Sorry. See this one, so the value is coming. Okay, so now what you have done here is like, now you have created an object for the string cricket. Okay, you have created an object and assigned that cricket value into that string. Okay, and then you are getting the length for that object, length of that string. Okay, so and afterwards what you have done is like, now you have the object you have created, right, you are not assigning to that object to any kind of reference. Okay, you are not doing this one, this portion. Okay, so you are doing only this portion where you created object. The problem with this, right, after this line, right, you can't access the object anymore what you created, because you haven't done any reference to it. It's like buying a dog and then not naming it and leaving it in the with a bunch of dogs. You can't call the dog, you can't call your dog, right, because you haven't named it here. So once the dog mingles with other dogs, right, that's it, that's the end of it. Obviously you can see and identify your dog, but you can't call the dog by anything. because you've lost it, because you haven't named your dog yet. So that's the reason. Okay, so you can't call the dog anymore. It's exactly the same thing for the object as well. So you created an object, but you haven't done you assigned any kind of reference to that object. So after this line, right, you can't access the object what you created here, but you can access all these objects, because you can access this object. You have created an object here, right, but you have assigned a reference to that object. So you can access this reference down the program how many number of times you want. You can access this object, but this object you can't access it anymore after this line. The reason is like, no, there will be circumstances where you don't need to create a reference for an object. You just need to, you will need, when you will do that is like, no, if you need that, if you need to create an object only for that line of code, right, that is the place where you will create an object without a reference. Okay, just keep this in the back of your mind. It is okay to create an object without a reference. Okay, down the line, right, you will itself see the circumstances. Okay, when you do programming, when you do automation, right, you will see circumstances where you don't need to create a reference for object. Okay, in those circumstances you can get rid of the reference. Okay, just object is alone enough for you guys. Okay, now let's go back to our original thing. Okay, now I'll get rid of all those things. Now, okay, this is one way of creating. Sorry, I just need to. Okay, this is one way of creating an object. Okay, now this, what I told you was like, now when you type this one, right, Java will see this statement, right, this double quotes, inside double quotes I got cricket, right, it will see the statement like this. Okay, so you are seeing like this, but the Java will actually see this one as this one. Okay, that is the reason whatever options you get, right, if you press dot, right, you will get that here as well. I will just comment out this statement and unlock that statement. If you press dot, right, after double quotes, right, you'll see all the statements, whatever that comes under the object. After creating a object for the string, right, you will get a lot of methods, right. You are getting those methods directly under the double quotes itself. The reason is because Java will see this as an object. Okay, Java will see this as this one, this reference. Okay, that's the reason. Now I'm just going to comment out these both actually. And in our program, in our initial program, what we did was like, we compared two strings, right. I'm just going to get rid of the string and I'm going to replace with hello world itself. This is exactly same as the previous statement, because the reason is like, no, I'm not using this reference anymore. I'm directly using the creating an object here. Okay, and that object is hello world. We'll have a hello world. Okay, and that is equal to the str2 string. Okay, because that is also hello world. Run this, I'll get exactly the same result. The strings are equal. Okay, if I collapse, remove the space time. See, sorry, I need to put a else actually. Then see here also, right, you're giving double quotes, right, in the background, right, it will change it as this one, new string of this one. Okay, because it the println, right, it will accept only string. Okay, that is the reason. We know that right now, whatever arguments the method is expecting, right, that is the argument only you can pass. Okay, so in our say for example, that is our program. Okay, if I create one more method like okay, if I try to call this one from our program, right, where is this program? Yeah, if I try to call the cwu dot demo, say for example, if I try to pass a string here, right, okay, it won't accept, because the reason is it is expecting int, but you are trying to pass a string. Okay, so which is not acceptable. The typecast won't work, because we know that clearly that you can't do the typecasting. The automatic typecasting won't work from the higher to lower, because string is much bigger than the int, right? So higher to lower won't work. Okay, so it won't accept it. So okay, this is clear, right? So if you define the argument as one type, right, you can't send another type to it. Okay, So why I showed you is like now the reason is because it is expecting an int and I try to pass a string which is not acceptable. Okay. In the same way, if the println is right, if the println is expecting a string, that we know that okay, this is a Java defined program. Okay, Java defined class. Okay. Println this method, right? That method is expecting a string. When you are trying to pass double quotes, right, you haven't created. Can you say anywhere a new string object is getting created? You didn't create any string object, right? Why it is a valid statement is right. In the background, it means that Java is converting this double quotes into a string and then sending it to the println. Okay. Otherwise, it won't work at all because println is expecting expecting an argument type of string. That you can see that pop up, right? It is expecting an argument type of string, but you are sending something with double quotes. It is acceptable. The reason why it is acceptable is because Java is converting that double quotes into a string object. Okay, it's as simple as this one. That is why string is alone a special one. The reason is like no, because it is just to solve make our life easy. Java has done it because whenever you want to use a string, right, we know that we need to use double quotes. Okay, but whenever we want to use string, right, Java has made us a way so that we don't need to create an object every time. So that whenever we do double quotes, right, Java will automatically know that you are trying to refer a string. Okay, it's as simple as that one. Okay. Now this is one of the special things about the string. Okay, and then should I write it in the notes actually? Yeah, that should be better actually. So what are the things what this string was? Okay. Double quotes. This means sorry. It's as simple as that one. Okay. Now, because why I'm so insisting about the string, right? Because we're down the line in our automation, right? String is the only one we will use that one relentlessly. We'll use that object, multiple number of times actually. Because you need after a while, right? You will know everything about the string because there are the methods in the string, the predefined methods in the string, right? They are so useful. Okay, it saves you so much time. Saves you so much time. Because think like no. Okay. When you say for example, if you want to automate a login page, right? What you will give in a login page, you need to give a username and the password. What is username and password? They are basically strings. Okay. Once the username and password is entered, right? What you will get as an output? Successful login. Okay. To read that one, right? Read that from the browser, right? You will try to access that browser screen. Okay, the browser will in turn return a string to you. Okay, what you will do with the string, right? You will compare that string and then see that is expected value. What you will expected value is login successful. What you will use that for? Equal to. Okay, equals. In that way, right? You will use all the methods in the string, right? You will be using it again and again. That's why string is such an important object, such a simple one, and at the same time in the background it is so powerful as well. Okay, this is the topic I am just insisting about. You remember last class, right? We got stuck in a place. This method, right? In this one, why we are not able to do is like now I used the word called as regular expression, right? Why I didn't go into the topic is like now that is pretty hard to explain. Not a hard to explain topic, but it is a very big, vast topic actually. But and such a powerful topic as well. Okay, when you have time, right? Just go and read about regular expressions, okay, and how to use it. That will once you start as an amateur automation programmer and you want to become a go to expert level, right, then you need to learn regular expressions, okay, but you don't need it at this level. All the things whatever you need, right, it can be achieved by the string object itself, okay. And afterwards, when you have time, just read about regular expressions, okay, that will be really useful to you guys. Just give me 1 minute, I will just find my charger. Okay, now, okay, I assume everyone understood about the string object and then the basic things about the object, okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
and Bala, there is always kind of noise in your microphone. Is that, I remember on the beginning of the sessions, there was no noise. Now there is like a noise, kind of
Okay,
like
I have my window
pushing.
open. Okay, just I'll close my window, okay, let's, oh, I think it's from my computer itself, it's, okay, I'll close my window and let me know if it's still coming, okay. Is it still coming?
Yes, it's still there. It's slightly less, but it's still there.
I think it's my computer itself. It's a new computer.
Okay,
I bought.
now I think it's less than it was. Yes.
Oh, okay. Is that okay? Then it must be the window actually, because it was so hot actually. I have the window.
We don't want you to to faint there, so
Nah.
you better open your window.
Nah, that's fine. It's not so hot because I'm from India. Okay, I should be able to bear this one. Otherwise, my other Indian patriots will kick my rear end. Okay, let's see what we were discussing. Okay, now string demo. Okay, now everyone understood about the string object, right? Okay, now we'll do one more program. Okay, what program on the day we discussed was what we thought of doing was. Okay. So if you have a free time, right, look at the way we did it and then look at the way, try to understand the way they did it as well. Okay, it will be easy for you to see. You see here, right, they have used it exactly like what we did actually. They have used the double quotes as directly. They didn't create an object. They assumed this as object. So see, you will use it in the, because it will reduce the amount of time to number of lines of code. Okay, so when you have time, right, so just see how they have done it. Okay. So how do you go to that one? Is like now in under the session, right? I'll just replace this one. Okay, it is methods. Where should I paste it? Okay, it's in this link, and then the problem was number 5. Okay, and then just click me to see the solution. Okay, it will take you to the solution. Okay. And then I think we thought of doing something, adding the numbers, right? Yeah, whenever the user enters a value, it will add, oh yeah, here it is, okay. So if user enters 25, right, you need to add 2 plus 5 is 7. So if user enters 353 means you should give 11, okay. So 3 plus 5 plus 3 is, 3 plus 5 is 8, 8 plus 3 is 11, okay. You should give that answer. We'll do that program also, okay. And then we will do one small program for objects creating with the constructors, okay, to recap the previous session, okay. Now, how do we, sorry, okay, this should take input value as right? Okay. Now, what we need is, like, now first let's think of the logic, okay? If user enters value 350, so what you need to do as a first step, right? You need to separate these things, okay, into smaller bits, okay? How do you do it is, like, now, we know that, where is it, okay? Say, for example, if first we need to access, let's come from the right hand side, okay? If 3 means, like, no, first we need to get this value, okay, this number 3, then we need to get 5, okay, then we need to get 3, everything we need to separate this one. We know that if you do modulus of 10, right, if you do modulus of 10 of this one, right, what will be the answer? 353, modulus of 10 will be 3, okay. And after that, if you do modulus of 10, this will be 5. Okay, then last step, if you do modulus, it will be 3. Okay, see, you have separated it. Now, how to make 353 into 35? All you need to do is divide by 10. Okay, so you do this. After this step, what you do is you divide 353 divided by 10. What will happen is so what is 353 divided by 10 is, it's 35, and the remainder will be 3. Okay, we know that, so the answer will be think like this. Okay, if I can bring up the calculator. It's definitely the sound, right? Its noise is coming from my computer itself. Okay, I think it's because of the recording purpose. It's just taking so much RAM, I think. Okay, if I divide this by 10, right? Sorry, 353. Why I'm not getting the? Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, basic capital. Yeah. So 353, because there should be a remainder, right? Should be in the, yeah. So you get 35.3. If I try to store this value in the int, right, we know that our 0.3 will be automatically be dropped. Okay, so it will have only 35 here. Okay, we are going to use that logic. We are going to divide this value by 10 and then store that in the int, so that it gets rid of 3, and then we can. So if you store this in the int, right, what will happen is j after this step, j will be 35, and then same thing, you do divide by this by 10. What will have is 3, remainder is 5. 5 will be we will get rid of 5, and then 3 will be stored to it. Okay, you guys now somewhat you guys would have understood the logic. If you implement it right, you will understood it clearly. Okay, what is the first step we need to do is we need a for loop. Okay, again I'll do a infinite loop. Okay, because we will break it accordingly whenever we are comfortable. Okay, first what we need to do is we need to break this value. Okay, first step is value is equal to modulus of 10. Okay, I will put something called as int answer. Okay, and I will assign 0. Okay, because that's going to be the final answer. Okay, now what you have done is you have just broken this one. Okay, so what will happen for the first time when it comes in, right? If the user has entered value 353 means, so 353 will be there in the value, and that modulus of 10 will be applied to it, and the remainder will be 3. So answer is initialized as 0. So answer plus 0, sorry, 0 plus 3 is 3. So 3 will be assigned to the answer. Next, what we need to do is we need to convert this 353 into 35. So all we need to do is value divided by 10. That's it. Because this value is an integer, right? And then this is also an integer. So if you do integer division, and if there is a decimal value, the decimal value will be lost. Okay, so you will have 35.3 will be converted into 35. Okay, and that's it. It's as simple as this one. So when you need to come out of this one, right? Because why the value will become in the final step when you have done all these things, right? When the value has become as a single digit, right? Then if you try to divide that by 10, right, what will happen is 3 divided by 10 is 0 point something. So this value will become as 0. Okay, so once it has become 0, right, that's the end of the loop. Okay, you need to break the loop. Okay, so that is where I am breaking the loop. Okay? Now I can return the value answer. Okay, let's run this one. Let's see. We can try and Okay, so first step, when we do the modulus, right, we'll get the rightmost digit of the in that value. Okay, so 353 modulus of 10 means we'll get 3. Okay, so once you do the division, right, so division by 10 will result in n minus 1 digits. When I say n minus 1 digits, in the sense, so n is the total number of digits. Okay, 353, how many digits are there? 3. So if you divide by 10, right, you will result n minus 1, so it will result in 2 digits. Okay, that's what remainder digits with remainder, and the remainder was when the value is stored in an integer. This is very important bit. Okay, so you have to store it in an integer. Okay, let's run this logic and see if it's working. Right? Remember, first let's give 353 and see if it works properly. See, 11, we got the answer. 3 plus 5 plus 3 is 11. Let's do a bigger number. We need to calculate it. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so what is 8 plus 7 is 15, 15 plus 6, 21, 26, 30, 33, 35, 36. See, we got 36. Okay, that is the logic of it. Now, did you guys understood this logic, right? Okay, if no one is answering, I am just going to assume yes. Okay, please guys, if you don't understand, like, no, just let me know something. Okay, you just tell me, no, I will explain to you in a different way. Okay, everyone is okay, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
yes, Paul.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so I'm just going to explain to you. We are going to see one more program. Okay, one more demo. We'll use the constructors this time. Okay, we'll see something with constructors, what we did last time. Okay, what we saw in the last session. Sorry. Create a new class. As I told you guys before, right, just go and try to do the exact program what we are doing now. Okay, that itself will help you. Okay, constructor demo. Okay, now, so what we saw from the last session is, like, no, the constructor, right? What we can do is, like, no, yeah, okay, anything. Okay, you see bunch of softwares here, right? If I say, for example, if I keep the VLC and open it again. Okay. So if I open this VLC, right, you see a lot of things here, right? You see this VLC media player, all these things, right? All these things should come from the constructor, because constructor has done the initialization of this one for you. Okay, so all the steps, whenever a user is going to start something, right, whenever he starts something, right, before he starts using the actual tool, right, the tool should be in a state so that, like, no, the user can use it. Okay, so you can what are the things what you're seeing here is, like, no, so I can open a file, everything. Okay, all the things. Okay, what are the previous file I've seen, and what are the options if I want to increase the volume, I want to decrease the volume. You see this button, all these buttons, right, all this work, right, will be done by the constructor. Constructor has initialized the VLC player in such a state the user can interact with it. Okay, constructor is a tool for you so that you can do the initialization of the object. This whole VLC itself is an object. Okay, so it will initialize the object in a certain way so that it will be easier for the user to work on the object. Okay, that's basically the main purpose of the constructor. Okay, now, so what we saw from the last session is the constructors, right, they don't have a return type. Okay, that is the only function in the whole Java program which won't have a return type, because return type is a mandatory thing for a method. Okay, we know that in a class only there can be only two things. One is the variables, another is methods. Okay, for the method nothing is a mandatory one, okay, but the return type is a mandatory one. Return type and obviously the name is a mandatory one. Okay, you don't need to have arguments all the time. You don't need to say public, or you don't need to say static or anything like that, but you definitely need to say the return type. Okay, so and then constructor is the only thing where we have that. This once we have it saved somewhere. Yeah, constructor will call during all the construction. You don't define the constructor will be the first mission. Yeah, see this one, right? That is the first thing. Okay, constructor is basically a method without a return type. Okay, so we don't need to do a return type now. All and then the I forgot to include that one. Okay, the constructor, right? The name of the constructor method should exactly match word by word with the class name. Okay, because that's how it will know that it can be identified as a constructor. That is sorry, that is a rule 101. Okay, I'm going to put that as I don't want to change everything. Okay, so I'm going to put as 0.1. Okay, that's the important rule. Okay, okay, so what is the class name? It's construct demo. Okay, if you do this onto this, now we have created a constructor. Okay, this constructor doesn't take any arguments. Okay, now think like this. Okay, if you want to tell the user that okay, you have successfully created an object, this is where you have to put your place. Okay, now if we have some variables in our methods, sorry, in our class, what is name is going to be, okay, name of this one, and say for example this think this is of a class. Okay, okay, what is the maximum capacity of the class is going to be? It's going to be string subjects. Okay, see, and then what you will do is you will assign it here. That's what capacity is. So for example, if the strength is can be maximum 60, that's it. If you want to do it, okay, that's the class name. I'm creating a reference. Then I'm creating an object. That's it, I've created object. That's all I have to do. If I run this one, see, object has been created. Okay, now if I want to answer, if I want to print out the whatever the max capacity, you will get the max capacity, whatever we have initialized with. Okay, it's 50. That's what we are asking. So, okay, and that's implicit. And as we discussed last session, right? We can have input arguments in the constructor. Okay, so we can get the name and the max capacity from the user itself. Okay, so say for example, if the user will do it in a bit name string capacity. Now we have got the same name. So how do you differentiate this one and this one? When you that is where we saw the keyword called as this. Okay, you type this dot, right? this always represents whatever is directly under the class. Okay, this max capacity, right, this belongs only to this scope. Okay, we saw what we saw was this is a scope. Okay, this max capacity, this variable, right, this variable is what, don't see the, look at the name. Okay, think this variable. Okay, this variable is say for example there is another class. Okay, sorry, another method. See, I need the return type. Okay, because this is, the next method is not going to be a constructor. Then I'll just resistant. Okay, this max capacity, right, say for example if it's called as say you got one more variable called as int min. Okay, you can't access that variable here. Okay, you can't access that variable here. It will say that the reference is not found, cannot resolve the symbol min. Okay, it can't understand min, but you can access these things. Okay, because the scope of this one is, scope of these variables are this bracket to this bracket. Okay, where this method lives within this bracket. Okay, so whatever is available in this scope, right, that is available to this one also. Okay, but when something is available only for this scope, right, that is not available outside that scope. Okay, that is what they call it as out of scope. Okay, these three variables, right, are out of scope for after this one. Okay, after this flower bracket ends here. Okay, so I'll just get rid of this one. Now when you want to access the, because now you got this, you have done the same names. Okay, you have used the same names. There's nothing wrong with using the same name. How do you differentiate between this variable and this variable is you use a keyword called as this dot. When you use this dot, right, it directly refers this one, not this one. Okay, so, I mean, again you do it this time. Now I'm going to do it in a better way of initializing it. How you do it is, I made a mistake with this code. Okay. So now what I have done here is, like, now if the user knows what is the name of the session is going to be, then I will assign that name. Sorry. Just one small thing. It should be here. It should be down. So if the user knows the name of the session is going, what kind of class is going to be, right? If he gives a name, right, then this portion will happen. Okay. If the user doesn't give anything, if he just puts an empty string, means like, no, what will happen is, like, no, it will initialize with this variable, this value. The same thing goes for the maximum capacity. If the user doesn't know what is the maximum capacity when he's going to when he's creating the object, right, all he has to do is put 0. It will do a default value of 50. Okay. But if the user knows what is the maximum capacity is going to be, right, he can give the maximum capacity. Anything other than 0, right, it will be assigned to this variable. Okay. Let's do this one. Let's create an object for this one, because it will start to complain now, because there is no more empty arguments constructor are there. Okay, so because your constructor, right, what you have created, where is our constructor? The constructor what we have, right, that is expecting 2 input arguments. So you can't create an object without giving those 2 input arguments. Okay, and we know that if you don't give that is, I told you in the previous session as well, if you don't give the constructor, right, Java will itself insert an empty constructor for you. Okay, so because all classes need a constructor. Okay, because constructor is the basic building block of the object itself. Okay, so say for example if I give null comma some value, we call it 60. Okay, If you run this one, the name will be computer science and the maximum capacity will be 60, because I don't know what the name is going to be when I'm creating an object, so I've given null. Okay, but if I know what is it's going to be, right? Okay. If I run this one, it will be electrical engineer and then 60. If you put 0 here, maximum capacity will automatically become 50. See this one? That's how normally they will do the constructors. Okay, it's like they will give an option to the user. There is a better way of doing this one. Once we see the concept of in a couple of sessions later, we are going to see something called as overloading. After that session, we will see what is a better way of doing this one. Okay, this is a simple way of doing it now. So that is how they will do the constructors. They will give an option to the user also. Okay, if you know the values, please give me. If you don't know the values, right, I will itself initialize some values for you. Okay, and then they will have the option to change the values in the later stages as well. Okay, because you need to have some values. Okay, otherwise you can't work on it. Okay, say for example, what is the best example? Okay, you normally have a home page, right? I don't have. See this one, right? It comes with the Google, right? Okay. Where this definition comes from, right? So when I open a Chrome browser, right, automatically Google comes. Okay, so in the constructor of this object, they have defined that go to Google. Okay, because you haven't changed it. So if I want to change it, right, I have to go to the settings and then I assume the home page and all those somewhere in the settings, right, I need to change it. Okay, if I change it to something else, right, automatically when I open next time, right, it will go there. Okay, so use this Google Chrome object, right, that itself has given you an initial set of values. That is what done by the constructor, and then you can override those values if you want. Okay, that's how normally it works. Okay, so every object, whenever you see in the real time, right, when you do the program, when in the real time automations, right, every class will have a constructor, because you need a definition, you need an initialization for the objects that are going to be created. Okay, it's as simple as that one. Okay, now let's go back to this one. Okay, so now, just to recap what we discussed just now. Okay, constructor is the only thing which doesn't need a return type. Okay, it's the only method. The name of the constructor should definitely match the class name, because otherwise it won't know that the Java won't know that whether it is a constructor. Okay, so if I do this, right, if I just change one letter, because Java is a case sensitive, if I do D, right, it will start to complain. It will treat this as a constructor and it will ask for a return type. You see this one, right? It is invalid method declaration, return type is required, because Java won't know this is a constructor, because this doesn't match the class name. So if I press D, right, if it exactly matches the class name, Java will know that is a constructor. Okay, so it means a constructor, and the constructor is basically used for initialization, and then you can have input arguments in the constructor method as well. Okay, that will serve the purpose of initializing your members with certain values. Okay, it's as simple as this one. Don't worry if it may be, you might have understood the concept of constructor, you might not know when it is really useful, but down the line when you do the programs, right, we are going to have some mini projects kind of things. At the time, right, it will be really useful. Okay, now I think I have covered the topics whatever I wanted to cover actually. Yeah, I just wanted to this session, right, that's what I didn't want to cover anything actually. I just wanted to do exercise on the object and then the statements, some of the programs. Okay, and then I have posted the links for the session 7 as well. Okay, I will post this link as well. Okay, just I will post the programs also. Okay, I will create a new thing for the session 8 and I will place the programs whatever we did today. Okay, just try to recreate the exact programs. Okay, that's all you have to do. You don't need to do anything more. Okay, and then try to do some more exercise on your own. Okay, if you have any doubt at any point of time, right, just message me. Everyone knows me very well. Okay, in this group. Okay, so message me anytime. I will answer to you guys. Okay guys, that's all I wanted to cover today. Hope you guys understood everything what we did. Okay, I will see you guys next week.
See you. Alright, thank you, Bala.
Bye.
Thank you, Bala.
Cheers, bye.